FIBA Asia Championship assist leader, one-time SEBA top assist leader, one-time IBL All-Star, ABL local MVP, two-time IBL All Defensive Team, two-time NBL assist leader, and then has also gone on to win 8 silver medals and 1 bronze medal between the SEA Games and the SEBA Games. Welcome, man. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me,
Whew!
brother. I
That was a long
appreciate you
list.
having me, man. It's good to be here.
Man, how's everything though? How's the quarantine?
It's good, man. I mean, it ain't sunny California right now, as you know. It's kind of cold, but yeah, it's been good, man. No
Yeah.
complaints.
I see you putting out a lot of content, helping the younger generation, obviously through not only your main page but also your training business,
Yeah,
Wuysang
yeah,
basketball.
yes,
So,
sir.
how's that going? You getting a lot
I
of
mean,
good
it's going
feedback?
good. I mean, I think all of us that's involved in the game somehow. I think this is a good opportunity in
Hmm.
this chaos, and we can kind of still, help out in some way, right? And with the
Definitely.
social media and online workouts and things like that, I mean, it's given us a good platform to do that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So, we went over this last time, but it was just us, and the connection was terrible. So
Right,
now
right.
it's great. So let's just inform everybody. Um, you grew up. You said you're from Indonesia. You grew up there
Hmm.
the first 3 years,
Yeah,
and then you moved to Indiana. Indiana is a hotbed for basketball.
yeah,
Um,
it is, brother.
so talk about just like playing in Indiana, growing up, high school there, and all that good stuff.
Oh well, I was born in Indonesia, like you said, and I kind of bounced around all my life, right? We migrated from Indonesia when I was 3 to California, and that's where I gained interest in basketball. Was just like watching the Lakers for the first time, like Showtime Lakers. And then my mom remarried at the time, and my stepdad took us to Indiana because he had a family there.
Hmm.
And Indiana, me not knowing anything about Indiana before that, coming in from California, it was very different. But one thing they did have was basketball. I mean, basketball is like religion out there, and
Hmm.
and that experience, that kind of like was kind of momentum for me to pursue basketball because of moving to Indiana, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So my bad. So what was high school like for you? Obviously, talk about like winning a state championship, just everything kind of leading up to, right before you went to college. Like what was your
Yeah.
what was your inspiration?
High school for me, I went to Bloomington North High School in Indiana, and I mean, great basketball school. Great tradition there. And we were able to win a state championship in 1997, my senior year. Uh, and it was, I played on a good team, but I felt like I was just a part of the system, which was great. I learned a lot, but it wasn't so much where I was developing as a player, like individually. So that's where it led me into junior college after that year, and that's in junior college I would say is the biggest progression for me as a player.
Definitely. So what was the most surprising things going into Juco? Because you moved from Indiana and then now you're going to Juco in Arizona, playing at a
Mhm.
national Juco.
Yeah,
So let's talk a little bit about junior college and what you expected and then what was the big surprise?
man. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Junior college. I didn't take the SATs out of high school. That's why I couldn't go to a 4-year school. But going to a junior college in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, most junior colleges are like in the middle of nowhere. So I felt like, I was, I'm all state coming out, state champion. This is going to be a cakewalk. That was not the case, man. I was 18 years old. I thought I was on top of the world, and reality hit quick when I see these my teammates. They're just dominant.
Grown men.
Grown men. I was a guy
Yeah,
25 years old on my team, bro.
yeah,
I was 18. I was like, I mean, it was incredible. The talent level, the athleticism of junior, at that junior college level was eye opening to me, and it really grew me as a player quick. And I had
definitely.
one of those coaches that was like, I don't think I've ever had a coach from high school to college that was not like in that era. Like everyone was Bob Knight. in my environment. Everyone was like scream at your face. You're every little turnover, every mistake, you're on the line running. I mean, that was the type of environment I grew up in.
Definitely under a crazy microscope, huh?
Oh, crazy! It was crazy. I don't
Definitely.
think that could happen nowadays, but that's how it was in the like '90s.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think a lot of kids are really surprised because everyone has this thought like, oh, I have to go D1 or it's a failure, and they don't understand JUCO is a grind, man. A lot of those
Yeah,
guys are D1 players. Some of
absolutely,
them, like some guys I know, are on NBA draft boards, but they just took a wrong turn. They have bad grades, um,
absolutely.
and, and man, you get like smacked in the mouth real quick.
Oh,
JUCO's so athletic, so intense. Name a couple players in that time who you went up
oh,
against that
that
played
year
JUCO.
that was '98, and so we had an All American on our team. His name is Bernard McIntosh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the time, the All American All Star game was held in Florida, and that year, it was Sean Marion, Steve Francis, just to name a few guys. Sean Marion went to Vincennes.
Yeah.
I almost went there because that's in Indiana,
Mm-hmm.
but I ended up going to Arizona. And Steve Francis was playing for junior college in Maryland, I believe. But it was stacked, man. The talent level was stacked. You know,
That's tough, man. That's tough. That's two NBA All Stars right there.
like
Jeez.
crazy, crazy.
Damn.
But
So,
yeah, it was a great
so,
experience.
so from JUCO, you went on to play at Fort Wayne,
Hmm.
right? So, just talk a little bit about those years and how JUCO prepared you for 4-year college.
Man, JUCO prepared me a lot. So that one year in junior college, really, I really my game progressed so much. Um, just from playing and practicing every day with the guys with the talent level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I got an offer to go to IPFW, which is a D2 school at the time, back in Indiana, and my brothers were still in the Midwest area, so I had some family still out there in the Midwest, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me. And we actually played it was in the toughest conference in D2 at the time. Um, but if I could go back to and like kind of redo things, I would have probably stayed another year in junior college
Mm-hmm.
because IPFW at the time we were in the toughest conference in the nation, but we were like the bottom team, bro. It was not it just wasn't the right situation for me, and I stayed there for a season. I got ineligible and got in trouble a little bit. I was young, and then and then I took myself out of school my sophomore year in IPFW or in college. Yeah,
Oh, wow. Okay. And then,
yeah.
so how did you start playing again? Like, what led to that?
Man, I kind of bounced around everywhere. So I took myself out of school and I kind of went on like a little traveling spree on the East Coast. Me and a good friend of mine, even till this day, he's a brother to me. But JJ Robles, shout out to you. But bro, we used to take the Greyhound everywhere, man.
Mm-hmm.
After I took myself out of school, and we were working out like we worked out in Camp Lejeune, which is a Marine base in North Carolina. And so I was just playing, working out every day, traveling the East Coast, and my brother's living in Chicago, and he says, "Mario, man, like get your life together. Come up here and live with me in Chicago and get your life together." So that's what I did, and I was waiting tables, man. I went to Chicago, lived with them. I was working at a restaurant, and but I put myself in the seven city leagues, basketball leagues in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and like I didn't have a plan at the time to be honest with you. I
Yeah.
wasn't like, okay, I'm gonna go pro. I didn't know. I just said, I still love the game, so I kept myself in shape and play after I work. I would play in these leagues, man, and that's what I did until I got a phone call one day from a team in Indonesia.
Yeah, that's awesome. So this is crazy because Phil Morrison was on here like a week or two
Now, that's
ago.
the homie. Did you know I know
Yeah.
him?
Huh?
Did you know I know him? Do you know we know each other?
Yeah, yeah. He talked about
Okay,
you a
okay,
little, and I figured with ABL, everyone's
okay,
pretty connected. But he's always been like kind of like a mentor to me,
okay.
especially
Good
like
guy, good guy. Shout out to
great
Phil.
guy, great guy. And he was talking about when he quit basketball, and then it's like a few things just kind of like fell in his lap, and then he stepped right back into it, like even hungrier and more focused. So talk about going from waiting tables to to going to Indonesia? Was that always part of your plan, or is it just something that fell in your lap?
It really fell in my lap, man. It was kind of like, I tell people, all the time that, if sometimes you don't have to have a plan if you don't know what you're going to do, but if
Mm-hmm.
you just keep consistent and following whatever you're passionate about, that plan will present itself to you. So that's what happened to me. I didn't know nothing about Indonesia or the league or you know or basketball. They even like basketball. So when this opportunity came up, I was shocked, but yet I was ready physically. Like, you know what I'm saying? I was like in the best shape of my life at the time. I was 23 years old. You my game was tight because I was. So yeah, and that's what helped me prepare to go out there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so so now you get out there. Just talk a little bit about just like different adjustments, because you said you hadn't been to Indonesia since you were 3 years old.
Yeah,
So what did you have to get used to? What weren't you like? Was it a culture shock?
it was a culture shock, man, because I was coming. I came out there. I believe it was February, and I was coming from Chicago. So people that don't know, Chicago's really cold in February. So I came to
Mm-hmm.
Indonesia with like full jacket on. The humidity. You know about Indonesia. You know how it is out there. And I was
Oh
just
yeah.
in shock, man, looking around. I remember stepping out the airport and I was looking around like, wow, what is going on right here? I've never been overseas like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was definitely a culture shock. And I couldn't speak the language at the time. That was hard for me. That was really hard because I didn't, in Indiana, there was really no Asians around, man, let alone Indonesians, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, which was not, I had to learn that language and there was no Americans at the time, 2003, as far as like in the basketball community, there were no Americans around I could relate to or speak to. So I really had to learn the language like on the spot.
Yeah.
Took me
So
about a
so
year and a half.
did it? So what was that like? Because obviously you're American. You've been here for 20 years, and then going back to Indonesia, somewhere you haven't been since you were three, not speaking the language. There's no American imports out there yet. Um, you know, how did you communicate with your coach? What was the basketball like at that time?
Oh well, lucky for me, we had a Filipino coach at the time, Coach Bong Ramos. Shout out to Coach Ramos. Um, Great coach, and he was the I got love for the Philippines. He was our coach, so guided me, and if it wasn't for him, I don't think I would have stayed more than that season. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it was really him that really wanted me to come back to Indonesia after that first season, and he helped me out through a lot of things, especially early on at 23, not having been overseas, just dealing with all the differences in culture and living conditions. That was tough. It's tough for anybody, any player, even if you're
definitely,
not a player. It's just tough for anyone, But
definitely,
I
definitely.
had that, and plus I had to play ball, so that was tough.
Um, so talk about. Oh, there's like a little delay on here, but just talk about um, 2003. You go to Indonesia. Those first 6 years you play in the IBL. Talk about what that was like, and then the transition to the ABL.
Oh, well, the 6 years in the IBL, man, it was good. Like I was able to win two championships in those 6 years, and like it was good, but it got to a point where I felt like I needed to play somewhere else. I wanted, but there was no other opportunity besides the national team. That's something I always wanted to do is play with the national team. I got the opportunity, but when the ABL came around in 2009 is when the ABL first came around. I got an opportunity to play there, and like I knew that that's where I wanted to play because I was able to represent Indonesia in international competition,
Yeah,
and we also had Americans on the team, so it was just a good environment for me and for me to progress and showcase my game at that stage. So
definitely.
that was definitely a great opportunity.
So what was the difference between like just the level of play in the IBL and the ABL at that time in 2009?
I would say it's the ABL is a couple levels above the IBL. You know, even now, I would say, you know, I mean, just because of the fact that there's, you know, you're allowed Americans and Asian Americans and in the ABL. So, but at that time, the ABL, I mean, I would say the 2012 was probably one of the best teams I played on, and for the Indonesia Warriors in the
Why is
ABL.
that?
Well, we were so talented, man. We had like Steve Thomas, Evan Brock, Stanley Pringle. We were stacked. Archie Wisnu, Dodo Stipu.
Mhm.
Like we had the best Indonesian players, plus you know, these American players. Stanley Pringle, who you know, one of the best guards I've ever
Monster.
played with.
Yeah.
And then we that's right. And we played against San Miguel, which was stacked. You know, that's Nick Fazekas, Duke Cruz, Chris Banchero, Leo Avenida. I mean, they were stacked, man. Jumar Fajardo. So,
Man, that's a battle right there.
dude, that was like it was insane. So, best of three finals in 2012 was definitely it was a war every time we went up against them. Those are great memories in my career for sure.
And that's the cool thing about the ABL is just the talent level year in and year out. Um, you know, no matter what team you play for, Indonesia, Malaysia, every team was getting two American imports, right, or two world imports. So most of the time there are guys, you know, NBA on the brink of NBA, jumping out of the G League, Euro
Yeah.
League,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you get these heritage players, and you know you have guys like Jason Brickman who played in Europe,
Oh
who's an
yeah.
all-time NCAA assist leader. You have Matthew Wright, who's playing top league
Yeah.
in Europe. So you have like ballers, and then you count who's been an import. You count as a local.
Right. Because
So,
I stayed in the country where I was born, right, Indonesia. So I counted as a local.
so how do you feel about the new? Obviously, the new rule changed to where there's no heritage, and now there's just three world imports. Do you feel like that helps the game in the ABL, or like which
I
do you
don't
like
mind
better?
it. I think it is good because you know at the time when I was playing the ABL, you're allowed three heritage imports, Asian American imports. So, but at the time it was like there's not a lot of like Vietnamese Americans, Thai Americans, Indonesian Americans, or you know, and like those that kind of situation where there is now. You've seen Vietnam, they're like there's a
All
million Asian
Americans.
Americans. You have
them
Thai.
them at, them at A Lab are all Americans, man.
Right, exactly. I mean, you got Thailand too. They're stacked. They, you know, like Moses Morgan, Tyler Lamb, Freddie
Right.
Lynch,
Yep.
uh, and then Indonesia. You know, we have. You know, there's. I was the first Indonesian American that come out there to come out there, but you have
Mhm.
Indonesian Americans out there now. So I think now you're able to do that, but back then you weren't able to do that. So I think it is okay to do that and represent your own country at this. You know, right now since you have access to it.
Yeah. Now it's perfect timing because they changed it to where if your mom or dad was born there, you don't even need a passport, I heard.
Right. Yeah.
You don't even need a passport. You just count as a local for them.
It will in 2012. We also had a Dutch Indonesian.
Did you?
Okay, yeah, he was like 6'7". He was from the Netherlands. You know,
Mhm.
he was on our squad too. We were
So
stacked.
so why do you feel like you don't see as many because obviously like Vietnam, they just got so many Vietnamese American players in there now.
Yeah,
Philippines, they're all mixed with Americans. You see like Gabe Norwood,
yeah,
Stanley Pringle, all these guys. Um, how come Indonesia has only had you and now they have Brandon, but it seems like you guys are
yeah.
just a step behind.
I I just think that there's not enough Indonesians here in the
Mhm.
states, and Indonesia culturally, basketball is not the number one sport. It's soccer and badminton. So between those two factors, I think that's why you don't see as many. But I do believe in the future you will see more.
Okay.
Definitely, you'll see more. You know, and they're out there. It just have to be patient and like they'll surface in time for sure. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Because it seems like in the Philippines, you know, any kid who has a little bit or could be Filipino, like as soon as he's in high school or in college, like they're talking about him and all the group chats and you know they're
Well,
already posting about him.
that also helps that you know basketball's the number one sport in the Philippines. So attention, finances will all go to finding the best players, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a big factor. But I think Indonesia. though basketball will probably never be the number one sport in Indonesia, but I do believe it's grown so much since I first came out there for sure. Just attention wise too, you know.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So just talk a little bit about like atmosphere. I played in the IBL this year. I don't know what it was like when you were playing in the early 2000s, but dude, it's like every game we had was sold out, and it was just thousands and
Yeah.
thousands of fans. So just talk a little bit about the difference between the IBL, who just loves seeing all the IBL players, and then going into these hostile environments in the ABL in different countries.
Man, I think you know stat like the IBL fans, Indonesian basketball fans they're pretty amazing, man. You know, they're
Some of the
they're
best in
like
the world.
yeah, they're diehard fans, and ever since I've been there, I went there in 2003. I've always seen a packed arena. You know, it's
Hmm.
always been that environment. So credit them, Indonesia, to for the basketball love that they have as well. And then transitioning onto the ABL, like it was a hostile environment everywhere we went to. Like, there were like Vietnam, amazing environment. Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, amazing. Philippines, you already know, of course,
Yeah.
amazing environment. I think every country that I've played in, like it's just been amazing, man. And really, really, like a home court advantage in the ABL is really a home court advantage.
Hmm.
It's so hard to win in the ABL. Singapore, that I mean, it's just the atmosphere is amazing, and man, I would anyone that wants to join the ABL, I would highly recommend that because it's
Yeah.
it's an amazing experience.
So what do you feel like is the toughest place to play in the ABL?
Oh man, Philippines is tough. It's
Hmm.
always going to be tough to play in the Philippines, but toughest place to play for me in my career, I would have said Vietnam. For
Really?
whatever reason, I mean, one, they packed the arena. It's packed and they're hostile, but for some reason, it was always hard for me to win there. You know, I don't know why. Maybe it's I'm cursed like that, but that was one place that really, really was really hard to come out there with a win. Like
Yeah.
Singapore, it's hostile, but we come out there with a win. Same with Malaysia, but something about Vietnam, man, I don't get it.
The heat, the
No,
crazy
it
the
can't be the
crazy
heat. I
corners
have no
jumping up and
idea.
down.
Maybe it's the rims. I have no idea. It's just so hard to win there.
Yeah, definitely. So before we move on, what is your favorite place to play in the IBL? Your favorite city? If you had to
Ooh,
choose one,
ooh,
putting you
man,
on the spot
Surabaya,
here.
bro, Surabaya. Surabaya
Surabaya
is
is
pretty
undefeated,
crazy,
man.
huh?
Surabaya is undefeated.
Undefeated, bro. Like as far as like in like the arena and craziness of the crowd, I would say Surabaya. They're hands down. Like it looks like a soccer game, but in an indoor arena. You know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely.
And I think that atmosphere, if no one's ever experienced that,
Hmm.
has to experience that. You know.
Yeah. The only downside is when it rains, how slippery the courts get, man.
Yes.
They got to fix that somehow.
I agree. I agree.
Oh my God. It's
I
dangerous.
agree.
Oh man, it's like slip and slide. But so now let's talk a little bit about you. You retired, um, and then you come back out of nowhere and
Yeah.
you play as a world import for Chinese team, the Wolf Warriors.
Hmm.
Obviously you're at this time I think you're like 38, 39. So not only does that talk about the level of respect people have for you, but a completely different country, China, which holds themselves up here in basketball,
Hmm.
taking a chance on you at that age, a
Yep.
year out of retirement. So just talk about the factors of you coming back, and then do you feel like you were more excited, or was there a lot of pressure on you?
It was funny, man, because towards the end of my career in CLS Knights for Indonesia, I was playing with them, and actually, I still had another year on my contract with them. But me and the management and the owners, we kind of came to an agreement to where okay, uh, I'll stop after that first year, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
I did after that. I finished off that season, and I retired. I announced my retirement, and I was ready to retire, like emotionally, mentally, but then I thought I was at the time, but then I didn't feel like I kind of went out on my own terms. So when I got this opportunity from China, when they called, though I was 6 months not like away from the game, I hadn't touched the ball or anything. I kind of got that fire back, like that excitement, that challenge. I don't know, something about a challenge that really like I gravitate towards. It's like, okay, maybe let's give this a shot. And I'm not afraid to fail. You know what I mean? It's I'm gonna give it a shot, and I no regrets on giving China a shot, even though it didn't work out the way I wanted. But that's life, man. You shoot your shot, and if it's not for you, then keep it moving.
Definitely, definitely, man. Um, did you get a chance to play in Indonesia when you were with the Wolf Warriors?
Man, I didn't, man, and that was
Oh, that
one
would have been
game.
nice.
Man, I had that circled on the calendar because I really wanted to do that.
I
But
bet.
that we were gonna play Indonesian after the Christmas break, and I was done before Christmas. So, but I played 4 games in the Wolf Warriors,
Mm,
and it was I played with Eddie Curry. He was my teammate out there.
I saw that.
Yeah, so it was cool, man. It was a great experience. No regrets at all.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So who do you feel like? Obviously, the ABL has so many talented players in and out each year. It continues to get better. What do you feel like the toughest guards in the ABL were?
Oh man,
Did you throughout your career?
throughout my career, there's so many tough ones. Like I played against Julius Hodge. I don't know if you heard of Julius Hodge,
Yeah,
McDonald's All American.
I've heard of
He,
him. Yeah,
he
yeah.
played for Saigon. I mean,
Okay.
Bozeman, uh, Jason Brickman is late in my career. I played against him, but definitely Cheryl,
What did you say? You repeat that? You said Jay Brick, obviously, and
Jay
then
Brick for sure. I played against him late in my career. Uh, Chris Banchero.
Chris Banchero.
Yes, that beast, man. There's so many great
For
Filipino
real.
guards. So many great Filipino guards. And just Stanley Pringle, he was my teammate, but I
Definitely.
played against him in practice. Yes, played against him in practice every day. So to me, Stanley was probably the toughest, just because I got to see him every day and see his work ethic
Yeah.
and just his approach to the game. And this dude was a beast, man. He's a
The
beast.
animal,
There's
man.
no, there's no. It's you know what he put in off. You know, in practice, you could really see it in the game, and see where he's at now. He just won a championship, right, in the PBA this
Mhm.
past season. So, like, he's incredible, man.
Yeah, and we talked about this last time, but for the people listening, when I was in the Philippines playing with representing them for 3x3, he would be in the gym like in the middle of the season, and this dude would just be like full sweat, hour and a half in. His coach would
Yeah.
be like, "Hey, get a water break." He'd be like, "No, no." He'd just be coming off these cones like 100 miles an hour. Like,
Yes.
and that honestly, to me, like I watched him, I seen his game, but that explained everything I needed to know about him. Just watching him that one time, and it's crazy because when he went to the PBA, you know what I'm saying? He told them like, hey, when he got drafted as a rookie, he said the only way I'm going to come is if I get 20 racks, 20,000 a month, because that's what I was getting paid in ABL. Whether that's true or not, he ended up in the PBA. So
Well deserved. Well deserved. He deserves it, man. I mean, as hard as he works, like some people do, like when they do drills, like it's different. Like they just do the drill, or they're really good at the drill, but they don't apply it in the game. He
yeah.
was like so good at drill work, but
Hmm.
he was actually applying that in a game with same speed as well. Like it was incredible, man. Incredible.
That's awesome, man. So what do you feel like makes a great point guard?
Uh, a great point guard, vision. You got to be able to get your teammates involved, man, and make the game easier for your teammates. I think that's a point guard if we're talking about like a point guard.
Hmm.
But I always like a point guard that can shoot as well, because I think if you can shoot and you can pass, of course you could dribble, you're already a point guard. But if you could shoot, I just think that opens up the floor for you to be able to create and find your teammates so much easier, and that you're so dangerous to an opponent. You know what I mean?
Definitely, definitely, man. How important do you think it is for guards in today's game um to be able to score at will?
I think it's important. It's not the most important to be able to score as a point guard, but I think it is very important because, like I said, if you can score, you're so hard to guard, right?
Yeah,
Because I mean, teams just they have to adjust everything to you because you got to guard this point guard that can shoot from 30. He's gonna be able to penetrate, and he's gonna pick your defense apart. So I think scoring is very important in today's point guard.
definitely, definitely, man. And I think watching you, especially as I was telling you last time, um, watching you when you were with CLS and the Wolf Warriors was just like the funniest thing to me, man, because you were older. Um, you weren't like just speedy fast like early in your career, and you would just like toy with guys because you knew exactly like the spots you wanted to get to, the
Yeah.
pace you needed to go at. So you look like you were jogging, you come off a pick and roll, boom, pop. Let them go under a few times, pop. Now they go over, boom. Now it's a little 2-on-1. You're drawing the big, dropping it off. So just that playmaking ability. Where do you feel like that comes from?
I just think just from experience, I mean, I've always been able to shoot. Growing up in Indiana, I was able to shoot. That's definitely something I worked on early. And I just think that just all the coaches that came across in my life,
Mm,
I grew up at a time where, like angles, timing, leverage, that was important. So, we would always go to the body. I mean, me feeling a defender is always necessary for me. You know what I mean?
mm,
Because back then it was hand checking was allowed. So it was close contact with like me with the ball and the defense. So I just think that helped me transition into a long career because everything was just timing. I didn't have to be as fast anymore, but I
yeah.
could time you and make you play my pace, and
Mm,
then I already understand the angles and I could shoot. So and pass. So that's what helped me be able to have a 16-year career, in my opinion.
definitely. What do you feel like as you got older, helped you have that 16-year career? Like, what aspects of your game did you have to adjust?
Well, me honestly, it was my conditioning. I changed my diet. After I passed 30 years old, I changed my diet. I was always a gym rat, but I think my diet really took me into another level because I trimmed down. There was no more inflammation in my joints.
Yeah.
My recovery was quick. I could run forever. My conditioning, my cardio was
Because that's the biggest
crazy.
thing is when I say, oh, I'm about to interview Mario. Oh man, I got flooded. I got flooded. All these pros around the world were flooding my inbox, uh, saying, "Man, make him talk about longevity. How did he last so long? How did he play until he's 40?" Uh,
It like my obsession for it evolved, man. Early on in my career, my obsession was just being out on the court and like being a gym rep, practicing. But then as I got older, it progressed to like, okay, I'm gonna spend a lot of time on the treadmill or the bike or the weight room,
mhm,
and then my diet changed. So that became my obsession, right? Not just the basketball side, not just the drill work, getting shots up. It was more towards the conditioning part of my body, and that's what helped me have a long career, man. I mean, honestly, I felt a lot better physically towards
mhm.
the end of my career than I did in the middle of my career, for sure.
Man,
Yep.
that's crazy, man. That's super crazy. So diet. Let me write this down real quick. Diet and conditioning.
Yeah, and
I need.
I recently heard Chris Paul say in a podcast too, like he changed his diet not too long ago, like maybe it
Yeah,
was a year ago or a couple years ago, but he stressed how that really helped him because he's 35 now,
yeah,
and that really helped him change the way he played, and he feels so much better now, and that's so true, man. Like
yeah.
literally, that's what I did,
Well, that's why the Thunder now are six seed. They're in the playoffs
man.
if the
Yeah,
NBA continued. But
absolutely.
I feel like you really see it with a lot of these NBA guys, especially Chris Paul, because Chris Paul has always been like a bigger guard. People make fun of him saying he's fat,
Right.
but you really see the last year his whole body chisel up. He
Yeah.
just seems like his old quick self again.
Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about your time playing and representing Indonesia. Um, you said before that you started representing Indonesia as soon as you got to Indonesia. So just talk about what it meant for you personally. You know, how proud it made your mom, just things of that nature. What it felt like to put on that jersey and play in front of all these fans from your home country.
Well, you know, when I got that call to come out there to Indonesia to play for Aspak at the time, right, in 2003, first time in Indonesia, the one thing I told the owner before I flew out to Indonesia was, if you I'll go out there only on one condition, is if you can guarantee that you put me on the national team.
Yeah.
Because that's something I wanted to represent Indonesia in international play. And he made good on that promise. So shout out to Kim Hong. But man, you know, putting on that jersey was definitely something that I think I've always thought about, like being able to represent a country. I didn't know I was going to have the opportunity, but it's just an incredible feeling when you know that you have a nation on your back, man, and you kind of have a responsibility. It kind of gives you chills, you know, like you have say you're at the FIBA Asia Cup or Sea Games, you just get chills, man, because everyone's looking at you like so proud, and you're like, you don't want to let anyone down, you don't want to let a country down. It's an amazing feeling. It's hard to describe, man.
Do you feel like going into it, you were more nervous? Were you more driven, or were you like locked into the moment?
I was nervous at first, definitely, you know, that never goes away, but then once that nervousness kind of settles, you get driven, man. You get inspired by just the nation, man. It's, you know, that wave of inspiration from everyone, and you see these other athletes that are also representing Indonesia as well as their own countries. You're just like, oh, there's something bigger than me here, you know. And that inspiration is just incredible, man.
That's awesome, man. So just talk about what the support was like. Do you have any stories of like crazy fans?
Well, Indonesia, man, you probably had experiences too, man. Knowing, you know, Indonesian fans. Yeah, I remember so many crazy stories, but like I can remember a tournament I played in. I think it was as IBO in Medan, the city of Medan in Sumatra, and like somebody asked me, man, for my socks and my underwear, bro. Yeah, like they were like, just give it to me, man. And I was like, whoa, what is going on? It was crazy. And then another story. Oh my God, I'll never forget this story too, bro. Look, I was using the bathroom after a game, man, public bathroom in the arena. Fan comes up to me, bro, and says, "Can I have your autograph?" And I'm literally using the urinal, bro. And I'm like, I didn't even know what to say at the time. I was younger too, so I was like, I didn't about to be rude, but I was like, man, can you just wait till I go outside, you know, like. But there's definitely a lot of crazy moments, man. You know,
man, it took a while to get used to it, man, especially in the Philippines, because I feel like they have no like filter when it comes to that stuff. You know, you'll be in the middle of like taking a bite of your food or
there's no social distancing out there. There's
none. It'll be like right here too.
Exactly, but it's all a blessing. It's great.
It is. That's awesome though, man. Talk about just your toughest battles throughout those years in the SEA Games, because you've won 8 silver medals, 1 bronze, but unfortunately you never got to win the gold. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, you know,
that was for one team.
You know, if the Philippines were not in Southeast Asia, man, I would have so many golds. But you know, shout out to the Philippines. They're just, you know, they ruined that for me for 16 years. But there was so many tough battles. Obviously, battling against the Philippines was always awesome. We had our rivals were, I would say, like Thailand and Malaysia. You know, for us, there was always so many tough battles with them. Like Singapore has great players too, like Wong Wei Long, you know, point guard. He's their national hero, you know, and he's a great point guard. It's just so many tough battles with those countries, man, because we were always fighting to play against the Philippines. That was like, you know what I mean? That was our championship. And then so it was tough battles.
So talk about that big shot against Thailand. sealing, the silver medal for you guys. Just talk about like your feelings. Like, is it something that okay, like I'm a pro, I'm used to this, or were you ecstatic? Because on the video you show no emotion. Like, man, I've done this. This is my shit. Type
Yeah.
of thing.
No, it was. I knew I was going to take that shot. If I was given that opportunity, if we were going to get the opportunity to get the ball again, and I was like, I'm going to take the shot. He was kind. I remember he was like, he was kind of forcing me sideline, and I knew if he was going to do that, I knew I was going to hit him with the step back because that was the only way. And I couldn't go straight to the hole because there was a big standing right there just waiting. So I had to hit him with the step back, and lucky for me, he forced me sideline, so I was able to do that.
Definitely, definitely. So looking back at your long career, what do you feel like you would have done differently?
Man, I had tunnel vision when I was playing stats, so it was like work hard, win championships at all costs. That was my mindset, and I think that kind of rubbed some people the wrong way, as far as like how going about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I never meant anything bad to anyone. Like that was my vision, just to win. That was my goal. So if I could change anything, it would just be how I handled relationships in basketball and communication, I would say. But I learned how to do better with that and control my emotions because I'm the type of person to wear my emotions on my sleeve.
Definitely.
But but the thing is, it's like for me, if I wasn't like that, I wouldn't have gotten to the things I got as far as like achieving goals.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of had to pick your poison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a sense, but I still would have handled a lot of things better, control my emotions, and maybe stay away from battles I didn't need to be in.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
I
mean?
feel like I feel like if you're really great at something, it also it's very hard because you have to walk that line. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
if you're pulling this competitive nature um, constantly for years and years and years to get to this place that only you have been, right? There's only one
Yeah.
Mario Wuysang. Um, it's very hard to find that balance because to be that competitive, you need to bring out emotions. You need to bring out, maybe like for me, I talk about this all the time. Is like all the bad things that have happened in my life, things I've had to overcome, cancer,
Yeah.
being told I wasn't good enough, being cut, things like that. When I work out, I just leave it all on the floor so I get the most out of this workout. And it started at a very young age for me, so I just play with like a different demeanor. And I feel
Yeah.
like, that's how you play. Like you have this old school demeanor where we can be friends off the court, but
Yeah.
on the court, man, I'm coming after you, you know?
Man, I absolutely agree with you. Like I always had a chip on my shoulder, and that was from just growing up. I always had a chip on my shoulder, and I played like that. And at the time, I was younger in Indonesia when I came there when I was 23. I didn't know how to handle. I didn't have the tools to handle like communication and how to communicate with management or players or coaches. So
Mm-hmm.
I was just so driven into winning. I just want to do this, and it should go this way. It should be like this. It should. I try to just have the environment be an environment where we're trying to win a championship here. And I didn't understand the business side of it at the time.
Yeah.
So and I think maybe I affected some people in the wrong way, but my intentions were never bad to
Yeah.
anyone.
But it's tough, man. Like you look at the greatest players ever, Jordan, Kobe, and they have these reputations for being too competitive, being a jerk sometimes, but not everybody is a champion, and there's a reason behind that because not everybody can dig that deep.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I was never the type of leader to like be vocal about
Mm-hmm.
certain things like in like especially towards the end of my career. I wanted to lead by example. So like if I'm going to go hit the gym, if I'm going to go run, if I'm going to get extra shots up, I'm not going to tell you to come with me. you
Yeah.
know I wanted you to see that this is what I'm doing. I'm 38 doing this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have to tell you that you got to get in the gym. You know what I mean? If I got to tell you, then there's something wrong. You shouldn't be in the game anyway. So
Yeah.
that was my approach as a leader towards the end of my career was by example.
Definitely, man. And I've heard nothing but great things from players in so many different countries about you. So moving on, how do you feel like small guards, like what do they need? Just like a few different qualities, a few different skills that they need to dominate.
Man, small guards, definitely timing, pace, and angles, man. If you seen that on my page, if you can control those things, if you can master those, try to master those things, perfect those things, think about those things, then the game will just be so much easier for you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I mean, and passing, you're a point guard. If you're a point guard, your responsibility is to get everyone involved, make it easy for your teammates to get baskets
Hmm.
or shots. So and I think that those are important things for a point guard.
Definitely. How obviously you hear like a lot of coaches, a lot of trainers these days talk about small guards, guards in general have to be dogs. How do you feel like you create this dog mindset for players? How do you teach that?
And, I'm still trying to figure out how to teach that. To be honest with you, I mean, I don't, because like I said, I grew up in the '90s. It was a different coaching style back then. It was, no coach was really nice to me. It was like tough love, man. Yeah. So, and
Yeah.
I don't know how you can apply that now, but I'm still learning how to communicate and teach kids, how to put that dog in them. But I think tough love is necessary sometimes
It
in
is.
in the game too.
I feel I feel like it really is, man. Because my favorite coaches of all time aren't the ones who sugarcoated it or were yes men. They were the ones who showed me that they cared, but they weren't afraid to tell me how it was and really
Right.
push me past my limits. So yeah, I
Right.
definitely agree with that, man. Somebody asked right here. They said, "Can the current national team beat the 2007 team? You guys were killing back in '07."
um, we were stacked 2007. We were a really good team, man. They might be able to, but honestly, we were pretty stacked. And if this person knows some of those players that were on that 2007 team, I think they would agree too, man. A lot of Indonesian legends on that team.
Definitely, definitely. Talk a little bit about um, touch upon longevity in the business because you said you would have done things different. You really didn't know at a young age how to handle yourself and separate the basketball court and business. And I feel like a lot of us don't. And
Yeah.
it's
No.
something you kind of learn as you go.
Right. No, absolutely. I had no one guiding me. You know what I mean? I was learning on my own through experience. So, but one thing I can tell you is my only advice that, because this is what I went through. So if you work on your craft passionately, like obsessed with it, you want to be the best, you will always, you will always be in demand. You know what I mean? So if you don't know how to handle it business wise, which I didn't, what I did know was I'm gonna put this work in,
Hmm.
and the business just came. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
So that's my advice for kids, man, or for people in the game. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Get yourself right. You don't have to go. You stay out till 3. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
You don't feel like working out today, but you getting paid for it. Hey man, you remember, like, just think back of when you picked up that ball as a kid. You walked 5-10 miles to the park, shot around, hooped all day. Remember that, love? Like, get back to that.
Yeah. Or
Put
just or just think about, if you get replaced, basketball's over, that 9 to 5, you're gonna be hating every day.
Absolutely anything that's gonna motivate you, man.
Anything, man.
Anything that's gonna motivate you, and those things motivated me. But I think the thing that motivated me the most was I just wanted to win, bro. Like,
Yeah,
I
be
wanted
the
to win
best.
at all costs, man.
Yeah.
And
I
the
feel
gift and
that,
a
man.
curse, gift and a curse.
Shoot, I hear you on that, man. We could talk about that all day. Um, uh, Talk a little bit about because obviously, in different countries, especially at first, there's always this disconnect from locals and Americans. Did you ever feel that throughout your career? What was your relationship like with locals, with fans, just with players
you
in
know, I,
general?
I I did at times. when I first got to Indonesia, like I would say middle of my career, I would say, I started feeling like um, I wasn't Indonesian enough to some of them,
Mhm.
which I understand. I was, if you can't relate, if you're not relatable, then you're kind of like weird or misunderstood or you're an outsider. You're not one of
Yeah.
us. When in my heart, I've always wanted to represent Indonesia. You know what I'm saying? And every time I was placed in a situation where I was representing Indonesia, I wanted to represent to the fullest. And I thought I did that to the best of my ability. So, um, as far as Indonesians and locals, you know, I think it was just more of a cultural barrier. Whenever you get in a team situation where everyone's grouped, I think that's just culturally what you're used to, what you're comfortable with as far as food and communication
Things to
topics,
talk
things like
about.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it was always love. To be honest with you, man, it's always been. I've been fortunate to be on teams that everyone has been amazing, man.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like Indonesia has like Indonesia, Thailand, they have like some of the most genuine and I don't know what it is about your guys' culture. Like I know in Thailand they're very Buddhist, so they believe in karma, but also Indonesia, like they just feel like they don't have like a mean bone in their body, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like some of the people are just so nice and genuine, like they give you the
definitely,
shirt off their back. And I thought that was
definitely.
so cool when I was there.
That's definitely Indonesia. You hit it right on the money right there, man.
Um, Last two questions. What injuries did you play through during your career, and did you ever think like, dang, this is it?
No, but my worst injury was my groin.
Oh
That
yeah.
was my worst injury. Like I pulled my groin. I would say in 2008, and for a tournament, so I had to miss a couple games. But the groin injury is the worst, man. You
It
can't really do anything.
lingers. It
There's nothing you
lingers
can't do.
forever.
Yeah, you can't explode. You can't move. You just can't.
Mhm.
You really have to sit. And for me, I've only missed a handful of games in 16 years. I just didn't want to miss a game. I didn't.
Iron Man.
You like I play. I don't. I play to be playing in a game, so
Definitely.
that's what I wanted. So that growing injury is definitely. I couldn't play through that. It just I couldn't. So I missed. I think I missed like two games, and then yeah, and then I got back. But you get the occasional ankle, but I played through ankle and sprains
Yeah.
and twists. Yeah,
Yeah. Your ankle. By the time you're done playing, man, if you played long enough, your ankles are done. They're done.
over with. It's over with. I was
Man.
blessed to not have like a serious knee injury. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
thank
No,
goodness.
seriously,
Like,
that's always been my fear because I had a growing injury when I was in Thailand, and I sat out the whole week of practice. Didn't know how I was gonna do. I felt super out of shape. Was just shooting free throws all week. Had 50 on mono.
ooh,
During that game, I was so like into the game focus. I pulled the other side of my hip. So like, imagine your groin's pulled in your hip. So I felt like my leg was just like coming off my body at all times. So
oh goodness.
I sat out the whole next week, and we needed these next two wins to push us to the playoffs. So then I played in this game Sunday. We lost the one on Saturday. Played Sunday, had 57. So
Oh,
it's just like, man, you just never know. Yeah, you just never know.
exactly. You're exactly right. That's a great example of like when you're not feeling well, whether you're sick or you got a minor injury and you can still play because a lot of the times that's when you play the best because you're
Definitely.
channeling all your
So focused.
focus,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, into the game, into every movement because you're
Yep.
trying to shut off that injury. And seriously, like what's the best example? The Jordan flu game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone heard about that. Like it's real. It's a real thing, man.
It is
That's why
definitely.
I've always hated to see players take off on like, oh, I'm not feeling well, or oh, I jammed my finger. I'm not gonna play this
That's
game.
so
What?
weak. So weak.
I can't
Hey,
relate, man. I can't
last
relate to that.
last question. We got 45 seconds left. If you were 20 years old coming into the game now, how would you change your game?
Ooh, my game, man. Ooh, probably. I probably would have extended my range.
Yeah.
But at that time, the FIBA 3-point line is not as far as it was now at
Hmm.
20 when I was 20. But if I was definitely range because the game is different now.
Definitely, man. I feel like your game fits anyways. That fast pace up and down, coming off pick and rolls.
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to be 20 playing that.
But anyways, bro, I appreciate you so much, man. Thank you for your
I
time.
appreciate you, brother.
I know the fans appreciate us redoing this, so thanks again, bro.
No problem, Stat.
All right,
Appreciate you,
brother.
man. Peace out, Indonesia.
Stay healthy.
We'll do you too, brother.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Please, if you guys video recorded this, share this. Any questions, comments, concerns, message me. Until then, stay healthy. Um, I don't know how many more of these that I will be doing, but I might do one Wednesday or Thursday. So stay tuned. Stay up to date on our page. Thank you, guys.